everybody. I'm Rabbi Boxman. I'm here from Temple Shalom in Naples, Florida. It is beautiful and sunny out today. I know any of you who are up north probably are a little bit colder now. I know you're expecting some snow. Anyways, we are excited to welcome Noa Zer. She is going to speak about the Arava. She is coming directly from Israel. So that's pretty cool. Thanks to Zoom, we get to have these fabulous speakers from around the world. And we asked Noa to speak today in honor of Tu B'Shvat. Tu B'Shvat is the birthday of the trees. It's one of our 4 New Years in Judaism. And we wanted to have an opportunity to speak about the Arava and what a great opportunity it is to do that on Tu B'Shvat. So let me tell you a little bit about Noa. So Noa Zer is the director of the Central Arava Regional Council's Resource Development Department. That's a mouthful.
It is
promoting all development projects in the Arava, as well as coordinating the connections to the Jewish communities in the diaspora. Noa holds a bachelor's in psychology and business management and a master's in public policy from Tel Aviv University. Born and raised in the suburbs of Tel Aviv, Noa has been a resident of Moshav Paran in the Arava for the past 9 years, is married to Rea Zer, a second-generation farmer from the Arava. Together, they raised their 3 children, Yonatan, Naama, and Alon, all proud 3rd generation of Negev pioneers. I'll turn it over now to Noa to speak about how the residents of the Arava region of southern Israel, a unique agricultural area, are reclaiming the desert and making it flourish. We have someone else joining us. Let me admit them in. And with that, I'll turn it over to you. And let me actually make you a co-host before I do that so that you can share your PowerPoint.
Oh, perfect. So first of all,
right, you're all set now.
So thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be talking to you right after Tu B'Shvat, which is a special holiday for us, the farmers. I want to start by sharing my screen to tell you a little bit about Central Arava and its unique connection to Tu B'Shvat. So I'll start with your permission. So just let me, okay, there you go. So many things to see in the Central Arava. Central Arava is actually a community that is located on Israel's southern eastern frontier. It's actually halfway between Beersheba and Eilat, right along the Jordanian border. For those of you who haven't visited this beautiful part of the country, once you drive along the border, you don't really notice that there is a border because this is the longest border in Israel, which has no fence. So literally nothing actually separates Israel from Jordan. The only thing that separates are the communities of Central Arava, and I'll talk to you about it in a second. This beautiful community comprises 6% of the land of Israel, 6% of the land of Israel, but only 1,000 families are living here. Ever since the region was founded in the 50s by the pioneers who decided to found this region deep in the desert. And the reason why not a lot of people are living here is that this is probably one of the most challenging areas in Israel to live in, not just in Israel. First of all, it's very far away from the nearest urban center, located on the most dangerous road in Israel. As you can see in the beautiful picture of the Arava, it's all desert. So it's all desert land, and it's all very much covered with sand. The climate is extreme, as you would expect from a desert. Actually, in the summertime, temperature can get up to 120 here easily. And in the wintertime, it gets pretty cold here. So really, it's a temperature fluctuates between winter and summer, between day and night, and they are extreme. And we are not connected to the main water grid of Israel. So water here is a big issue in the desert. It's one of the driest places on earth with less than an inch of rain a year. And that's a rainy, usually when we have rain, we get the entire rain in 1 or 2 events, so we get flash floods. So this is a region of multiple challenges, and yet 1,000 families are living here, about 4,000 residents in this beautiful virgin land. And despite of all the challenges and the fact that the soil of the Arava is not good for agriculture, the pioneers who founded the region set their mind in forming a farming community here. And today, the Arava is a world leader in advanced arid agriculture. Actually, amongst the 600 farms that we have here in the region, remember, one of the driest and most challenging places on earth, we produce here in the Arava in the desert more than 50% of Israel's fresh vegetable export. I'm going to repeat that. More than 50% of the vegetables that Israel exports abroad comes from a place with no water in the middle of the desert. And that's actually, when you talk about the world-renowned agriculture, you talk about how you can grow food in the desert with no condition. And the reason we've been able to do that is thanks to a lot of knowledge that we've gathered here in the region that helps us use the water that we have in an efficient way. And by the way, the water that we have here are brackish water. We drill into the ground and we have more than 50 water wells. But the water that we take out are brackish and saline, and they're not very good for agriculture. But yet we have managed to find ways to use the water that we have and create great sources for the farmers here. And also, not just in water, in all the measurements that regarding agriculture, we've been able to find ways to successfully grow in the desert and to use, for example, the great sun that we have, the sun radiation, the advantages that we do have in order to harness it to our advantage and grow as much vegetables and fruits that we can, again, with less than 1 inch of rain a year. Shimon Peres, the late former president of Israel, always said that high tech in Israel began with agriculture. And he's right, but because if you are to grow in the middle of the desert, you have to have a lot of techniques, a lot of mind, a lot of innovation in order to do that. If my father-in-law was using his green fingers when he came here in the 70s to grow his bell peppers, my husband, who's a second-generation farmer, he's got all these apps on his cell phone that transmits information regarding the humidity level and the fertilizer level and all sorts of data that is being transmitted and exported to an Excel chart, and he's making calculated decisions based on data that comes from the plants themselves. We get text messages in the middle of the night from the plants saying that we're thirsty, please open the tap. So farming here really became very, very sophisticated, and the farmers themselves are scientists because we are facing changing conditions all the time. Global climate is changing, conditions are changing, and we have to be ahead of the game. We have to innovate, not just our scientists, but also farmers themselves. And the fact that the Moshavim are the incubator and the farmer is a scientist is still relevant to the work that we do here in the Arava. So what kind of agriculture do we do here? This is a typical land of the Arava and an open field of onions. But we are growing here dates and watermelons and zucchinis and tomatoes and bell peppers and flowers and dairy farms. But every fruit and vegetable that we've been able to grow here had to be adapted to the desert because nothing can grow here naturally. For example, those beautiful tomatoes that you see here, or the vines, we had to invest more than 6 years of research to find out the right conditions that will enable those beautiful fruits and vegetables to grow here in the desert. So it's really a unique approach to acclimating those crops to the desert, and not everything can grow in the Arava. Our scientists are very aware of this and are working hard to make sure that we can grow here what grows here well under the conditions that we have. And we found out that the knowledge that we've gathered here of how to grow agriculture in the desert is actually addressing two very important global questions or challenges. One hand is food security, the fact that the world's population is growing in more than an exponential rate, but the planet resources are either staying the same or even being diluted. By 2050, the UN prediction is that we will not have enough resources to feed the world's population if we will not change our ways. So food security is a big issue on one hand, and the other hand is desertification, which is a process where desert is taking over fruitful land because of climate changes. So even the resources, for example, the land resource that we have, are being diluted, and those are big questions that are involving our day life. What will our grandchildren see in 40 years from now, and what kind of world we are giving them? And here in the Arava, we have great knowledge regarding how to grow sustainable agriculture with no conditions at all. So when the first pioneers came here and started planting trees here, and it's related to Tu B'Shvat, Tu B'Shvat is all about food, and we grow food here in the desert from scratch. So we believe that there's a lot of knowledge that has been gathered here in the Arava that is very important, not just for the region itself, but to a lot of other people in the world that are sharing two major challenges, which is how you can feed people with the little resources that we have. The knowledge that we've gathered here in the Arava involving sustainable agriculture is not being kept just in the Arava. We are sharing it with people not just from Israel, but from all over the world. We are doing it through a special school, which is called AICAT, Arava International Center for Agriculture Training. And this school was formed 26 years ago with the understanding that agriculture is a very practical trade, and you have to provide people with practical tools for them to be able to succeed in agriculture. The school invites more than 1,000 students annually. For those who haven't joined us in the beginning, the Arava is a community of 4,000 people. So every year to invite 1,000 people and more from developing countries like Asia and Africa, you can see multiple nationalities on the screen, which represent some of the countries that we work with. We actually work now with more than 16 countries in Africa and Asia, and also in the Pacific. It's quite impressive. Some of our students are coming from countries that has no diplomatic relation with the state of Israel, like Indonesia, for a fact. If for an example, Indonesia is the largest Muslim populated country in the world that has no diplomatic relationship with the state of Israel, and yet every year a group of more than 50 students find their way to the Arava to study at the AICAT program. And the program is very simple. We invite students for a 10-month program, which is the length of the agricultural year. And they are staying in the farms with the farmers. They go to a campus, to JNF campus once a week, where they get the theoretical knowledge that they need in agriculture, in water management, but also in business skills and computer skills and marketing, because we believe that farmers are business people in the fields of farming. So you have to give them the understanding of what the business world looks like and also what the agricultural world looks like, because we believe in turning farmers into entrepreneurs. The rest of the week is dedicated to what we see as the most important part of the program, which is the practical training. So the students are actually working in the fields with the farmers that serve as their mentor. So through that practical experience, they see how the farmers are tackling everyday problems and challenges and the approach that they have towards solving problems. And that's the most important part of the program. You have to understand, I'm going to stop my my screen share for a second. so you can see my face. You have to understand that never mind. Our students are coming from a very traditional background. They're coming from countries that are agricultural in essence, because they are based on agriculture, but this is very traditional agriculture. We are talking about countries like Laos, where people are still using buffaloes in order to cultivate their fields. So really, we are talking about something that is truly substantial in the way that they look at agriculture. So they come here, and all of a sudden, they see how the farmers of the Arava are using computers and drip irrigation, and there are farmers who are female, and the entire concept of innovation, of thinking in a non-traditional way in order to create changes, is something that is very new to their tradition. And this is something that we are trying to really insert within them, so they can create the change that we are hoping that they will create. We are looking to find leaders, future leaders that can take on the leadership in their countries and really change communities. We are looking into the ripple effect. And for that, we are cultivating future leaders. We are cultivating entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs and economic entrepreneurs. Throughout the program, we take our students to trips around Israel. We take them to the Golan Heights, we take them to Jerusalem, we take them to Tel Aviv, we take them to the Dead Sea, we take them to Yad Vashem. We don't do any PR regarding Israel, but having lived in our communities for more than 10 months and see the way the pioneers live here and understanding the story of the Jewish people, they become the best goodwill ambassadors of the state of Israel. And when they go back home, people believe them, because you believe your neighbor, you believe your family member, you believe a person that you know that will talk about Israel. And this is not something remote that you hear on the news. This is an actual person that not only talks to you about Israel, he's showing you ways in order to improve the way that your village is handling his food supply. So this is something really special. So for us, the impact of AICAT, beyond the positively Israel impact and the way that we can present Israel to more than 16 countries around the world, we work with universities in the origin countries of our students. That's how we recruit our students. Every year, more than 1,000 students are being exposed to Israel through the AICAT program that is being promoted by the universities. If you think about it, it's kind of like BDS, but the other way around, promoted by your university that is pushing you to go abroad and to use that amazing platform that here in the Arava we are offering. So there are 100,000 people in countries that have no prejudice around Israel, against Israel, are being exposed to this program every year, which is amazing. Think of the hasbara, of the PR possibilities. And also for us, developing the Arava, the JNF campus, and we've been working with JNF for many years on this program. The JNF campus is actually the largest, the AICAT program is the largest employer here in the region. In a region that is so remote from any other urban center, there aren't a lot of jobs. So for us, having a school here, it's a great economic engine to the entire region. And our mission is to bring more and more people here and providing them with job opportunities. For sure, that's one of the most important elements. And Tikkun Olam aspect, healing the world, a light to the nation, showing other nations the way to really change their mind. It is ever so true today in COVID times, where we need that global social solidarity, the understanding that at the end of the day, we are all people, we all need food, we all will benefit from having a better way to handle our food supply, to handle the global resource management. And this is something that we truly share with our students. And we believe that, like in Tu B'Shvat, we are sowing seeds of change, and change towards Israel, change towards how we handle agriculture, change towards how we handle the globe the global resources, and hopefully those changes will blossom into something which will bear fruits for many years to come. I have asked Rabbi Boxman if she will be kind enough to show a clip that we have prepared, a testimonial of some of our students sharing their experience. I do believe that talking about Tu B'Shvat, it's not just planting trees and planting fruits and vegetables in the desert, it's also planting seeds of success and of hope. So if you please run the clip, that would be perfect to really understand the program and its impact.
All right, here goes.
Hello, Shalom, Mingalaba. My name is Sinwano. I'm from Myanmar. Now I'm working in Kachin Baptist Convention in Kachin State of Myanmar. I was in ICAT in the years of 2015 and 16. After getting back from Israel, I worked in Kachin Baptist Convention as a development training coordinator, the training that we send students to Israel every year. I used a lot of benefit, technique, strategy, and knowledge experience that I got from Israel in my training school. Especially, I conduct mini agri research project work for my students in the training. Today, I would like to especially present about another two of ICAT alumni students who got success in agriculture currently. So the first student is Mr. Ong Choi.
Hello, Minglaba, Shalom. My name is Ong Choi. I'm from Myanmar. I was ICAT student in the years of 2017 and 18. I always thank ICAT because ICAT made my dream come true. I graduated from ICAT in 2018. I worked with farmer Ilankai in Faran. As soon as I got back Myanmar from Israel, I made some agriculture research at my own farm. I started growing vegetable under the tunnel, greenhouse, and small aquaponic on my farm. My purpose is to upgrade the agricultural life of my country. I have a goal, which is to be able to shift from traditional farming into sustainable agriculture. So after I have got little success from my own research, I joined Weimar Baptist Development Association as a farmer leader to be able to share to our community what I have studied through this organization. I started to create sustainable agriculture, farm and coordinating agribusiness with a big, more initiative way of technique which all I learned from ICAT. Now, I'm conducting agriculture farm and business in 3 villages in Weimar Township. I use drip irrigation system and making greenhouse with local bamboo. The most successful thing that I achieved is growing tomato, mustard, and a greenhouse. Because tomato price is high a rainy season, we could get more income. So we are planning to increase more greenhouse and tunnel at our agriculture farm. So those are the things and technique I am sharing to my community with what I gained from ICAT. I would like to say that I am always grateful to ICAT on behalf of Myanmar students.
The second student is Mr. Nosan. He attended in ICAT in 2015. ICAT changed his entire life. Before he went to Israel, he was a musician. He composed a lot of gospel songs, pop songs for the churches. But after getting back from Israel, his life was completely shifted into the agricultural world. In 2017, he cooperated with his friends and launched about 10 acres of grape farms in Mandalay region. He grew a lot of vegetables such as cabbage, cauliflower, tomatoes with GAP methods of growing system. His products are now being sent to Mandalay, Yangon City Market and Farmer Market. The most successful market demand that he got is grape wine, which is the product from his grape farms. I am really grateful to ICAT for giving us such a great opportunity to study high-tech agriculture in Israel. I would like to share about more alumni students in the future as well. I miss ICAT a lot, want to go back there and study in ICAT. Thank you very much. Jesu Timbare.
And finally, please enjoy this very special message from a very special woman. A native Kenyan, Jennifer Masawa was raised in a rural area where agriculture is a main source of income. A single mother, she has always been a social activist, focusing on empowering girls and women. She attended ACAT in 2018 and is back in the Arava, living in Moshav and Yahav, where she's working on her thesis, focusing on ecology and agricultural solutions. Please welcome Jennifer, followed by a very special treat.
My name is Jennifer Masawa. I am 27 years old. I am a single mother to an adorable girl, a guardian to 2 young adults, a social change advocate, and currently a student at Tel Aviv University, pursuing masters in plant sciences. I was born and bred in a small village in Siaya County in Kenya. I trekked to school barefoot with one goal to make it to the university. Growing in the village, I had encounter with real effects of abject poverty. I watched painfully as young girls dropped out of school due to teenage pregnancies and never having a second chance to pursue their education. Rather, they will end up in arranged marriages with way older partners. I am grateful to my parents for always ensuring that I had enough paraffin to keep me late in the night with my books and encouraging me to stay focused in my studies despite their low level of education. They had a chance to marry me off at my prime age in exchange for cows and social status. As a child, I wanted to do something. I wanted to create change. I wanted to break the norm. 8 years ago, after finishing my high school and waiting to join university, I almost lost it all when I had my daughter. I had to make a choice between getting married and continuing to university. I am here today because I made the tougher choice. It wasn't easy because my parents could not support me financially, but they lessened the burden by taking care of my daughter from the age of 2 months until the end of my studies. Their support enabled me to run a school mentorship program, work with women groups in the community through Girls United program, and also serve as a student leader at University of Nairobi. I am so grateful to them. Looking back, ICAT has been a blessing to my life. The exposure, the practical knowledge, a chance to build my academic profile, the networking, and being able to support my family back home. I grew interest in the Arava cooperative story because I feel it's a model that we can adopt in ongoing efforts to reframe Kenyan rural communities. Today, I know that a child growing up in rural Israel has equal access to quality life, attention, and resources that prepare them for life. This is not the case in my country. The Human Development Index and the general social development infrastructure is wanting. I have so much bottled up for the future. With the immediate being able to stay with my daughter, give her the motherly love, and give her the life and opportunities I never had. Furthermore, I've left her 3 times in pursuit for the future. I want to continue impacting my community through grassroots development, working with women group, and mentoring young school girls. I focus in women because they're the central workforce in the rural communities in Kenya. When I think about the rampant corruption and the inequality in my country, it depresses me. My ultimate goal is to be able to serve my country in the top leadership so that to be able to influence inclusive policies, especially in agriculture and social development. Lastly, in memory of my mother, a woman who influenced my passions, I would like to set a foundation for women, for orphans and widows, a purpose she served selflessly. I am grateful to ICAT, Arava Community, Tel Aviv University, Mashav Israel, ICAT Director Ms. Hani Anon, my Israeli mentor and father figure, Mr. Yarif Kedar, for always holding my hands and assuring me that it is possible when we give our best. Shalom. God bless Israel. God bless Kenya. God bless Africa.
So I think that how wonderful it is to hear from Jennifer from Kenya that if you will it, it is no dream. This is what she's saying to us actually. And I met Jennifer when she just arrived to the Arava, and I have to tell you, Jennifer wasn't that confident leader that you are meeting today. She was a very, very determined but scared young lady who left everything behind and came to Israel. And she actually took whatever the Arava had to offer and draw from that pioneer spirit and became the leader that she is today. And I'm sure we'll hear more about her in the future. At the end of the day, EICAT is all about people. The Arava is all about people. And our mission is really to insert that special spirit of the Arava, of people who came here with nothing and took upon themselves to take a piece of barren land and turn it into a blossoming garden, despite of all the challenges. And this is a message that we want to echo. And especially in today's world where people are facing multiple challenges, I always remind myself that if we can handle the desert, there is no a capacity to the human spirit, and we can draw comfort from there. And the fact that we can help other people, it's amazing. And it's one of the most profound values of Judaism that we can practice here in Israel. I want to end by really, do you see my screen still? I hope so.
Nope, you're gonna have to, we see your background, but not your PowerPoint.
My background.
That again?
Okay, so just a second. Never mind. I want to end by connecting two very important events that happened last week. One of them is the International Holocaust Day, and the other one is Tu B'Shvat. I'll share one more story that to me exemplify the Arava and the Jewish spirit and EICAT story all together. And this is a story of our graduates from Nepal in 2016. In 2014, while our Nepalese students were studying in campus at the JNF campus of EICAT, there was a massive earthquake that hit Nepal. I don't know if you remember, it was really, really a devastating event where entire provinces were wiped out. One of the most dramatic disasters that hit that very, very poor and underdeveloped country. And our students came from a province that was centered where the earthquake hit. So we had 150 students here from Nepal, and they were frantically calling back home, and they found that there is no home to go back to. And it was very difficult times. We've kept them here for another year because clearly they had no home to go back to. But the situation in the first few days were really horrible. We brought them post-trauma specialists, and it was really trying to help them get themselves together. And I remember I met them a few days after the earthquake hit, and they were really crying and trying to comfort each other. And the farmers were helping them, and really the entire community got behind them, but it was really difficult. And the Nepalese are very gentle people, one of the most gentle people you'll ever meet. And I remember 2 weeks afterwards, I see their group leader, their leader, shouting at a group of 150 people, like seriously shouting. And this is one of the most gentle people that I know. And they were crying, and he was yelling at them and really getting upset. And a day later, I approached him and I told him, Binod, why were you shouting at the people? Like, they just been through the most horrible trauma of their lives. Why were you shouting at them? And he said, you know what, Noah? I had enough. We've been staying here in Israel for more than 6 months. We have just visited Yad Vashem, and I was shouting at my people because I told them, we are in a country that have lost its people and really got the powers to rose from the ashes, build a country, and grow food in the desert. And he said, we don't have the privilege. I was shouting it by people. We don't have the privilege living here in the Arava in Israel to cry over something that was broken. We have the responsibility to try to fix and sow seeds for the future. And we have to stop crying and get ourselves together and take all the tools that we can get, because we have a mission ahead of us. And I have tears in my eyes when I'm talking about it, because to hear from somebody that he draws inspiration from the Holocaust, and he takes that as an example to show his people that you can do everything, that was very powerful to me. And it's all about sowing seeds of hope. And this group of Nepalese presented us at the end of the second year a proposal to form a cooperative farm in Nepal. They went back home, they gathered money, something that is very different from their tradition, where each family takes care of her own and that's it. And they formed a cooperative model where they grow together, they study together, and they pass that knowledge on to other people. I just saw an amazing pictures from, it's called the Arava Nepal Modern Agricultural Company. I just saw amazing pictures of their farm. Of course, they came, and in the middle of Nepal, the most poor province in Nepal, they brought American tractors and drip irrigation and computerized irrigation system and things that nobody have seen there ever. So they're slowly changing the way agriculture works in Faran, and every year graduates from our school and other villagers are joining the educational program, and this is a beautiful ripple effect that is really planting more and more seeds of knowledge and of change. And I thought that's a beautiful way to connect both our history of the Holocaust, the lessons that we are learning from them, the lesson that we need to change the perspective towards Israel and anti-Semitism, towards really showing people what the real face of Israel is all about, and Tu B'Shvat, which is sowing not just seeds of nature and seeds of agriculture, but also seeds of hope and change. And this is exactly what we do here in the Arava. In our small part of the world, we're 4,000 people that are farming along the Jordanian border and fighting the challenges of the desert every day. So I just wanted to end with that. And I want to also take this opportunity to tell you that in all this journey, from the beginning, from making the desert bloom, from gathering the knowledge and helping our researchers and helping the farmers here with reclaiming land and with the water solutions and with building our students a campus, we've been honored to have the Jewish National Fund as our partners in this long journey that is really changing the face of Israel and is also changing the face of the world. And we're very proud that this organization understands the impact of agriculture, not just on the food security issue and Israel, but also on the international diplomatic arena. And I'm sure that part of the latest Abraham Agreement had to do with the knowledge that these countries are interested in, and first and foremost, water management and agriculture, because at the end of the day, everybody needs to eat and everybody needs to drink. So hopefully that will change the political map and the way a lot of other people are looking at Israel, because the knowledge that we have is very valuable. So hopefully knowledge will shine a light that will help a lot of other countries and will also help us by practicing what we do best, which is tikkun olam, and helping others and really working together. So this is a very short presentation of the Arava and the many faces of the Arava. There's so much more we can talk about, from really going into the water issues and talk about the amazing community here, and the fact that a lot of the pioneers here are women and the social impact, but just a glimpse. I hope that next time you're in Israel, hopefully, God's willing, in 2021, you'll have the chance to come down to the Arava and see for yourself how we live our lives here, and still carrying the torch of Zionism and cultivating the land and building the land and the people. And toda rabba for listening.
Thank you so much, Noah. That was fabulous. I know I've learned about the Arava before, but even so, I learned something new today. So thank you very much. I wanted to open up, we have just a few minutes left before we have to conclude, but if anybody has questions, we did leave a few minutes. You can either type them in the chat and I'll read them out loud, or you can simply unmute. We're a small enough group that you can just unmute and call out, and I'm sure Noah would be happy to answer a few questions.
People are overwhelmed with information. It
Absolutely.
usually happens. You don't expect from such a small part of the country that usually you don't hear of. You hear so much. It surprised me as well when I came to live here 10 years ago, from the center of Tel Aviv all the way down to the Arava. So it was a big shock for me as well. But hopefully I gave you enough, a good teaser for your next visit.
What actually, I actually just got a question that came in. Have any of the agricultural technologies you use been developed in your region?
Of course.
So first, so a lot of the know-how and methods was actually produced here in the Arava. Actually, if you are familiar with the world-renowned drip irrigation, which is an Israeli invention, it started off in the Arava. The guy who invented it lived in the Arava and then moved to the center of the country where he completed the development. Till today, every new development of the Netafim company, which is the largest drip irrigation company in the world, is being tested first in the Arava. If it works here, they got a kosher stamp that they can go ahead and sell it to other countries. It's like New York in a way. If you can make it here, you can make it everywhere. But a lot of know-how and methods and techniques regarding pest management and water efficiency methods have been developed here in the Arava, and we're developing new techniques all the time, in even apps. My next door neighbor who works for Rafael company, he's an engineer and a farmer. He invented an app to monitor your labors and to compare between the different rates of the different labors in order to create the right measurement to know how to give them tasks, because everybody has their own rate, and you have to find what is the average and how you can monitor them. So use your apps, you scan a barcode. It's really super sophisticated. My husband can travel to, I don't know, Germany and have a full control of his field through that app. So agriculture is really becoming super sophisticated now, and now the latest craze is drones. So I'm sure that we will see the day, well, you'll have mini drones in the size of a fly in your fields that will monitor all the pest management aspects and the different diseases. I won't be surprised if we will see it very short in the future, and it will be tested in the Arava for sure.
Excellent. We have one more question that came in. You were talked about brackish water. Do you have to use the desalination technology to make it usable?
For domestic use, yes. We have desal plants in each community, because we have to desal. The water that we have in our taps is like 3 or 4 times saltier than what you have in your taps. So it's not drinkable. We have to desalinate it for domestic use. For agriculture, it's too expensive. Actually, if we will desalinate all the water that we have, we will increase our yield by 30%, but it's so expensive that we had to, like good Israelis, bypass the system and find ways to cope with the salinity level rather than invest money in the desal.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Noah. That was fabulous. I know for those of you who are on today who maybe came on a little bit later, we did record this. So we'll be sending it out to everybody, including those who weren't able to be on today. So Noah, lots of people will get to hear your wonderful talk today. As we conclude, I wanted to turn it over to Ori to say a few closing words and tell us about an upcoming event.
Well, first of all, Noah, just who you are and what you do for our country is just spectacular and very, very moving. You know, I'll never forget what you said today about the Nepal students. I thought I heard a lot, but today it was extremely moving, and thank you. We at JNF really work diligently to bring people to Israel, to bring people virtually to Israel, currently working with our affiliates, working with different shuls, wonderful shuls such as Temple Shalom in Naples. And we constantly have wonderful events. Hopefully one day soon, we'll have events where we share in person again. But for the moment, I wanted to thank Rabbi for bringing you to the homes of our wonderful temple members. And we will continue to share these wonderful events going forward. So thank you again, Rabbi, and thank you, Noah.
Excellent. Thank you, Ori. Thank you, Noah. Have a good afternoon, everybody. We look forward to seeing you back for more adult education programs.
תודה רבה, שלום.
Shalom, everyone.
Shalom.
שלום, תודה רבה.
תודה.